Most people into cryptids know about the Mothman, the winged humanoid creature that has been spotted in the Point Pleasant area of West Virginia back in the 60s and is believed to hold some type of connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The book, The Mothman Prophecies, written by John Keel and released in 1975, brought national interest to this mysterious cryptid, and in 2002, a movie based off the book with the same title was released, re-establishing interest into this mysterious being. However, I'm not going to be telling you about the Mothman. Instead, we're going to look into something associated with the Mothman, something even more mysterious that always has a smile on its face and is very unnerving. Okay, enough teasing from me, and let's get into it, for this is Tell Me About It, Indrid Cold. Most of what is known about Indrid Cold, also known as the Grinning Man, comes from Woodrow Derenberger, who was a sewing machine salesman who claims to have had several interactions with it. While Woodrow gave the most details about Indrid Cold, the first sightings actually comes from two boys in New Jersey. In October 1966, Amos Yanchatis and Martin Minoy were in Elizabeth, New Jersey walking home when they approached the local landmark known as the Turnpike that is fenced off on an incline and elevated. Behind the fence, they saw a very tall man, wondering how he got over there. The man also saw them and started to approach. The boys were walking towards the man when they were able to see some details of his face. They described the man's face as looking human, but off. He has very small beady eyes, slick back hair, and the most standout feature was a very large grin. Fear overcame the two boys, and they ran off. Now, in November 1966 is when Woodrow Derenberger had his first of several experiences. Woodrow was on his way home when he saw some type of headlights in front of him in the middle of the road. Woodrow stopped his van, observing what he initially thought was a cop car. But upon more observation, it was neither a cop car nor anything resembling, at the time, a modern car at all. Woodrow would describe what he saw shaped like an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney. The vehicle then went up about 50 feet in the air and parked next to Woodrow's van. A door slid open and out comes a man that Woodrow described as average. The man had a tan, dark hair that was slicked back. The man was wearing an overcoat and some type of green uniform made of metal. And once again, the most noticeable feature was a large, grinning smile. The man was very polite and somehow was speaking via telepathy. The man introduced himself as Indrid Cold and that he was flesh and blood and in no way special or spectacular. It told Woodrow that he is from a planet called Lanulus in a faraway galaxy. The being told Woodrow to talk about his encounter and that it will be seeing him again. Indrid Cold walked into its kerosene lamp-looking vehicle and departed. Woodrow was not only dumbfounded, but terrified by the events that had just occurred. One of the first things he did was to tell the police everything. They laughed and didn't believe him. Despite police not believing Woodrow, people came out and corroborated his story. Witnesses claimed to have seen him conversing with a person in black in the road, and some even said they saw the weird-looking vehicle and lights. Curiously, on that same night, on the same stretch of road, two men had to stop their vehicle because of something they described as elongated was blocking the road. The men next described a person who looked rather sinister approach them with a large grin. This is possibly the same being Woodrow had encountered earlier. According to the men, the being was asking them questions that didn't seem to have a point, and its arms were crossed in a way that any normal human would consider uncomfortable. After a moment, the being departed. True to its word, Indrid Cold would visit Woodrow, coming to his home, conversing, and then leaving. Woodrow's wife would go on record saying she was terrified. She and her daughter met Indrid Cold. She said it drove a car, it dressed in everyday clothes, it looked like a human, but something was off, and it wasn't human in origin. According to Mrs. Derenberger, Woodrow was gone for 6 months once. He just vanished from her life. When Woodrow reappeared, he claimed to have been on another planet in another galaxy where Indrid Cold is from. The Derenberger family also received random strange calls, and sometimes the family received threats, and Woodrow was told not to talk about his experiences. Other times the calls were silent, and then there were even times it was hums and beeps. The family would go on to change their number into an unregistered one, and despite doing this, the calls somehow continued. Adding more interest to this, there were 2 hunters who wanted to see this Indrid Cold, and they were staking out in a forest near Woodrow's house, watching and waiting. What they saw was a black Volkswagen pull up to the home, a man in an all-black suit walk out, knock on the door, converse with Woodrow, and a short time later, leave. This is apparently one of the first sightings of the men in black, who are often associated with alien contactees. Woodrow would say he didn't really know about the men in black, but after speaking with him, he was scared. Woodrow would eventually meet with John Keel, who was investigating the Mothman at the time, and tell him about Indrid Cold, which John spoke about in his book, The Mothman Prophecies. John would also write the foreword to Woodrow Derenberger's own book titled Visitors from La Nulos. Sadly, Woodrow Derenberger's life would end up in the drain. He was divorced from his wife, lost jobs, lost friends, shunned, and seen as a crazy man, despite psychiatrists and doctors saying there's nothing wrong with him. Strangely enough, sightings of Indrid Cold and the Mothman in Point Pleasant seem to have come to a halt after the collapse of the Silver Bridge, adding even more mystery to this being and its connection to the Mothman. And with that, you said tell me about Indrid Cold, and now you've been told. Thank you all for watching, and if you have any suggestions for a future Tell Me About It, be sure to let us know in the comment section down below or on social media. And those links can be found in the description. Thank you all again, and I will be seeing you next Tell Me About It.